Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is episode 123 of the Audible Farm Podcast, and it is brought to you by Couchtown Coffee. Couchtown Coffee is roasted right here in Iowa, and they will ship coffee to your house. Not only that, but the coffee's made to order, which makes it extra special. So if you make an order, they're roasting coffee specifically for you and then shipping it directly to you. So that's awesome. Everything is made specifically for each order. So they're not just roasting hundreds and hundreds of pounds and then hoping people buy it eventually. No. They're doing it the special way. So get in on this. Go to couchtowncoffee.com, find a coffee you like, and make an order, and they will ship it to your house. You know what else is cool? They can give you 20% off just because you listen to this podcast. So go to couchtowncoffee.com, find a coffee you like, make an order, and let them know Audible Farm sent you. Use the code word Audible Farm, and you can get 20% off. So thanks, Couchtown. This episode features Tyrell Frazier. He is the drummer for Over the River, which is a band from, well, I guess if you're in Omaha, it's just over the river in Council Bluffs. But they're in that Omaha area, in the Council Bluffs area, out on the western side of the state. And I listened to some of their tunes online, and it's really cool. We discussed, kind of how they found a sound that they did and how the band kind of met and everything like that. We talked about the website and how important a website probably actually is to a band these days, because you can stick a lot of stuff on a website you can't necessarily just put on social media, and a website could be a nice, fun, all-inclusive place for people to go to find all of your information. So hats off for all the bands out there with websites. We kind of discussed that, and we just kind of discussed playing music and just being a good person overall. It was a really good episode. This was actually, I talked to Ty for about 10 minutes before we did the podcast, and then we just sat down and did it. He's a really nice guy. It was a really good episode, and I hope you guys enjoy it, because I enjoyed it. And, it's one of those things where I didn't know I would like this band until somebody recommended them to me. So hats off to Josh Wigg for recommending Over the River to me. So, Josh Wigg was a previous guest. So if you listen to this one and you like this episode, maybe go back and listen to the Josh Wigg episode. But this episode features Ty Frazier from Over the River Band. I hope you guys like it, because I had a great time on this one.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
So today I'm sitting down with Ty Frazier. I guess I didn't even ask you if Frazier is how you pronounce your last name, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, not that it would be any different, It's not like Bologna, Bologna or whatever.
Right.
No, it's nothing like that.
Right. Champagne.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Perfect. Ty, I met you, I haven't really actually met you in person, but I met you online through Josh Wigg, and I did an interview with him. Listened to some of his music. It was cool, and I figured I said, hey, you know anybody that makes cool music like you? And he said, you should check these guys out. You're actually in the band that's called Over the River. I've seen some people call you Over the River Band, and your tag online is at Over the River Music. So if anybody's looking for you, that's where it's at. Otherwise, I did just Google search you and you showed up right away. So
oh, no shit.
Yeah, if you just do Over the River Band, it's right there. So
I don't know if I'm not supposed to cuss. Sorry.
No, do it, man. It takes a little bit of the pressure off of me, actually. I try not to, but sometimes it comes out. So either way, this is just a nice, friendly conversation. But I got to ask you, man, I listened to some of your music. First and foremost, I'm going to throw this question at you. How would you categorize your music?
Oh, all right. So that's always tough. Always as a performer or a songwriter, it's so hard. You always want to over-specify your genres. And, everybody's like, And so I've always just kind of called it rock music, right?
Yep.
But, I've kind of been leaning towards, a lot of people tell us it sounds a lot like Southern rock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people tell us it sounds a lot like blues rock or folk rock or just Americana or Americana rock. So what we decided was we were going to create our own little subgenre of all of those things that we call Midwest rock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember reading that on your website, Midwest rock. That's a great name for it, though, too, because it's a little bit of everything.
We do, man. And we do good at genre bending, I guess you could say, where one song does sound a lot real bluesy, one song sounds real folky, and so on. But they make a collective that forms together, which is what we're really aiming for. And yeah, like I said, it's so hard to put yourself in a genre, but good old fashioned rock and roll from the heartland, man.
Yeah, let me see if I got somewhere down here. I wrote notes about this. I wrote groovy rock with a country and indie feel. That's what I
There you
wrote.
go.
That's like what I wrote as like my cursory liner notes. So it's like
I'll take it, man. Yeah, another one is gravelly vocals over dive bar twang is what a review had said. Yeah.
That would actually be a really good just overall genre as like dive bar band. It's
Right.
like we're not playing covers, but if you were in a bar, it's almost like if you walked into the set of I don't know, what's that Swayze movie where he's like kicking Roadhouse? Yeah, if you walked in there, it's like what you would be one of those bands or something.
I would take it. Man. One of my biggest influences just in music in general is the Blues Brothers. My dad's a big just blues guy, and so I was watching that movie at like 9 years old, and then Blues Brothers 2000 came out when I was 10, and we went and saw that in theaters, and they've just been two of my favorite movies my whole life. And so I would like to picture myself as like those guys, being able to walk in anywhere and just play.
Yeah, and I mean that was kind of like when I wrote down this description of like groovy rock with a country and indie feel. It's like, so you could play country bars and passably do it because it's not far out of their element, but you could also like mix it in with some of the indie bands in Iowa if you absolutely had to. I feel like you definitely could, but like we've been saying the whole time, you do have a rock and roll feel to you as well, so you could fit in with the rock guys, and that opens up the doors to probably a lot of different like areas or bars or things like that. I'm sure you play a lot of different places compared to like, I guess I'm in a punk rock band, so it's, you get to certain places and it's like, well, we're probably not going to get booked here, but you might be one of those weird bands. It's like we can get booked in a lot of different places.
I cold call everywhere, to be honest with you, but yeah, exactly. That's one thing that we didn't intentionally do, but I've definitely tried to bank on, is that we can exactly. I also hit up a lot of bands, and I'm just like, let's play gigs together because we can kind of form our sound too. There's some songs we can just leave out or add or to really add to that sound as well. So yeah, no, it's not anything that was intentional on that end, but it's definitely worked out. I think it comes a lot from the three of us, and originally we started as a 4-piece. But all of us with real heavy, just different inspirations in music, so that really kind of shows in all the songs,
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the coolest things about like writing music. I was actually talking to somebody earlier today how like, I mean, I guess I'm not much of a music writer. I'm like one of those people that adds spices to an already made meal where it's like, I helped, like
right? No,
I'm one of those people. But like when it comes down to like playing music and stuff like that, it's like, what genre does your music style like fit into? And it's like, well, it kind of is a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And like sometimes when you don't have to pigeonhole stuff to be like, we're only playing metal and it's got to be this heavy. It's like, well, if you just kind of let it be whatever it is, you end up with that really open-ended
music.
Yeah. I mean, I would almost hearken it to like 311. I'm not sure if you're a 311 fan, but like they were kind of one of those bands where it's like, well, it's not quite punk, but it's like also not quite like groovy, funky stuff, but it kind of is. Right. And they were from the Midwest, and it's like, what do you call this? And I don't know. We're just playing music and
just have a good time, man. Right? Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. How did you end up running into all these guys to create a band like this?
So Sven, my guitar player, he's a bit of a musical savant. And I met him, man, I've known him for about 15 years. I met him before I got back into playing the drums. He's one of the people who was like, hey, we got nothing to do this summer. You should buy a drum set. And that was like 10 years ago. So I've been playing with Sven for about 10 years. I've known him for 15. And then Tyler, me and Sven used to have another band called the Fish House Punch. And we were I don't know, a little similar to what we were doing, but a little bit more reggae maybe.
Okay.
And we were just a beer club party band essentially. But it was a good time. We did that for about 5-6 years before anybody took it seriously. And but Tyler was an introductee, like, I don't know. We were playing that band. He just showed up. Somebody introduced him to us, and he jammed with us one time. We were like, "Hey, you should join the band." And so I've been playing with him now for quite some time. And then, like I said, when we originally got started, we were a four-piece, and we all had a mutual friend as well, named Clayton Monroe. And so basically what happened was, we were all dads. We had been out of the game for a few years, been playing, we'd go play some open mics and shit, as under other band names. I'd play with like 5 different groups of people, just doing percussion for them and, all of that. And I was ready to just do it again. I needed something, so I hit them all up and I'm like, "Hey, band time. Like, let's do it. Let's do it right this time. Like a business. Like, I've spent these last 3 years reading books and fantasizing about getting back to it and doing it right." And so that's what we've been doing now for about 2.5 years. Well, about 2 years, 2.5 years. 2018, November, December is when we got started.
Oof.
I guess our first gig was January of 19. So
yeah, you guys barely got a year under your belt before things started kind of going weird.
No shit, man. Oh, no shit. Yeah, we had a whole summer lined up, and we were dropping our album on April 20th, 2020. I had this huge bash lined up, man. Like, this big event, and then COVID came and it just was all gone. So we were forced to completely turn to like online.
Yeah.
Like, we were doing weekly live streams. We were doing giveaways every live stream, and like at the end of all these live streams, we'll do a big giveaway, and like just giving out all my merch because I'm like, nobody's buying it. It might as well be out there spreading around.
Mm-hmm.
So we just did that for like 12 weeks, man.
Yeah, dude, I do have to say I feel for you there, because my punk band did release an album during COVID, and it was like, and we were gonna do it like right at the beginning, kind of, and then like there was a delay, and then it was like, we're not gonna get this thing until almost summertime, and then it was, what do we do with this,
Right.
And then eventually it was like, well, I guess let's just put it out. And I mean, some people are buying some merch, it's cool, but it's also not as much as it would be at shows.
Exactly.
So, and I mean, I feel you though. It's like, you got all this merch. What do you want to do with it? Like, give it away,
Right. And that's what I've been like, well, people might as well know our name and brand recognition. And we got this music. And at this point, I'll take the loss financially on some CDs if it's getting people to hear our songs, and then, online interaction. And so that's pretty much what we turn to. And then anything we could get without stepping on other people in the business's toes and we would take, we took some outside gigs, and then just did some like pop-up stuff too.
Yeah, man. We were talking a little bit about that before the show, but it was one of those things I was thinking of, like if you're going to play shows, you kind of got to tread lightly, because some people are, not taking kindly to it, and other people, other people are like, well, you've played 2 or 3 shows and I want to play 1 show and haven't, played 1 show, or there's, other bands that are playing shows might not even take kindly to it, or some venue owners. I mean, once again, I get it. It's weird. It's a tough time, but you kind of got to go out there. And if it's the only thing you have to do, I totally get it. And if you
no, exactly. And you're like, I don't know, man. Like, and don't get me wrong. We've been taking when we did do stuff, we'd always wear masks and social distance and play outdoors. And we've continued to do that. We have taken a couple of indoor gigs this year, or well, not this year. We did one, but it was real spaced out, and there were only a few people there anyways.
Mm-hmm.
That was mostly just an excuse for us artists to get together and play some music. But and then another one where it was a real similar thing. Tried to stay careful, but at the same time, I'm a real big believer in that as artists, we also gotta create right now more than ever. People need us real bad. So if there's places that'll provide, go the extra effort so that people can go in there and hear some live music and decompress for 5 minutes, I'm going to be there to play the live music for them to hear,
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm totally for it too. I feel you with, people need to have something to do, and without artists creating something for someone to do, there's nothing to do, otherwise
right.
There wouldn't be any movies being made, which there aren't very many, it's like there wouldn't be TV shows getting made, which there aren't very many,
It's such a fine line, because obviously pandemics aren't anything to mess around with, we all got to take that seriously and be real safe about that. But we got to somehow find a way to interact with people, hence why we were doing all the live streams and stuff too. Because like I said, man, people need it. People need it bad. As artists, I'm reminded of a Toni Morrison quote that I don't know word for word, but she says, now is the time. It's the time. There's no time for pity. There's no time for self-doubt. There's no time for questioning. Now is the time when artists go to work. We create, we do, we make language, and it's how civilizations heal.
Yeah.
That's such an inspiring part of why I do it in the first place. And so to have that come full circle in a time like this, I've just lived by that completely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like there's a direct correlation in the lack of ability for people to socialize and then the inability for people to socialize properly on the internet nowadays.
Oh yeah.
Like,
oh man, right?
Like,
I really like the way you put that.
Well, seriously, I mean, like if you go to a bar and hang out with people, or if you go to a show and it doesn't have to be a show or a bar, but like if you go to a movie, if you go to a restaurant, I mean, like you see the people in your community, you realize, oh, hey, there's Steve. Steve's a good guy. Hi, Steve, and then like,
right.
But now you don't ever see Steve. And then he goes online. He's like, I have a viewpoint that's different than yours. And everyone's just like, horrible, shame, was the worst. Get rid of him.
Right.
It's
oh man, it gets bad. Well, and there's no inflection. There's no, there's not, the like us humans when we communicate with our voice, there's many different points we hit on that where you can't hit on that with text. It just whoever's reading it is going to read it in whatever mood they're in.
Yeah that's perfect.
You know what I mean?
Yeah and they can't read your facial right. stuff either,
Yeah, exactly. There's so many different cue points like that we don't think about when it comes to communication. I actually went to school for radio. Just the act of communication has always been something that's fascinating to me. I can use words to put a picture that's in my head inside your head.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just awesome because there's no other species on Earth that can communicate as in depth as we can.
Yeah. So now we're going to make this really deep. So we're talking about communicating, which is actually something I found very interesting when I went back to school, was taking like business communications classes and stuff, and realizing that not everybody's good at communicating in all the forms or another. But we're just talking about English language. So like, imagine you got to communicate something to somebody and they can't see your face, and you got to like write it all down in a proper way so they understand where you're coming from when you give them the information. Now imagine you're making music, which is a language that everybody to an extent understands, but not everybody speaks. So like you have to make this music for people that maybe don't know how to speak their emotions, and they can, this is where you might end up with your lyrics being slightly pointed but also slightly vague, so it can apply to anyone in any fashion,
right?
And that's
100%. That's exactly it, because that's what we do as musicians. We're not, we don't create music for ourselves. If we created it for ourselves, we wouldn't put the countless hours and dollars into it that it takes to release it. And I think most of us realize when we do it anyways that we're far from ever going to be David Lee Roth or Robert Plant up there on the stage. We just make that music to put it out into the world because that's what we do. Like, that's who we are. We want to do that for the world, and that's exactly it. It's tough, but that's the challenge in it, I guess. If it was a challenge, it wouldn't. If it wasn't a challenge, it wouldn't be any fun.
That's very true too. Like, if I could just crank out like a million songs over and over again, eventually you just kind of get tired of it or whatever.
Right.
That's probably
that's what I mean.
That's why some bands break up. Just.
Right.
We've done this album 4 times. Like, I'm done doing something else, and
exactly,
But dude, and I also want to touch on something else. Like, when you were talking about being in Fish House Punch, which, by the way, that's a killer band name.
Oh man, it's got a real long story too.
Let's hear it. Actually, I can bookmark this.
Okay.
What's the story with the band name?
Okay, so all right, so the Fish House Punch, right? So back in like 1740 something, okay, when we were just the colonies, the American colonies, we were still under British rule and all of that, right? In the Pennsylvania colonies, there was on the Schuylkill River, there was the Schuylkill River Fishing Club, okay, which to this day is still like the most exclusive club in the world. Okay. There's like 14 members. You know what I mean?
Sounds like a blast.
Like, you got to be like related to original members and things like that.
Gosh.
And original members were like George Washington and John Adams and like all these super influential founding fathers and businessmen and stuff, right? Well, I think it was in like 1770, they opted for the first time ever to allow women to come to their Christmas party, right? And in the minutes of the meeting, it says that they needed to find a drink that would soothe the ladies' palates, but make them livelier than their usual want. And so they created Fish House Punch.
Oh, cool.
Okay, which is sweet gasoline, right? We used to make it for like the first 10 shows. We would like bring this giant like football team cooler to shows and be like, you can sell it to people and keep the money. We don't care. Like, just serve it. But people got shit-faced. Like, it doesn't. Every time you bring it, things get broke. It's bad, right?
Yeah.
So just peach-flavored gasoline, which, and then it was noted to be George Washington's favorite drink. After that party, he wouldn't attend a party if George Washington was coming to your party, you had to make Fish House Punch. Right, like everyone in the nation knew this recipe, and because we were an Americana band, and found that random ass story on the internet about this crazy fishing club and their 1770 Christmas party and the drink that became George Washington's favorite, we named our band after
That's awesome. Well, I was just thinking, like, of course it's his favorite, because like before that, like his favorite liquor before that was like whiskey that was diluted with human spit or something.
Right.
And it's like, this is how we make it, stretch it out a little bit,
Right. And it's basically, man, it's just basically like it's like 2 gallons of brandy, right? Like a half a gallon of lemon juice, another gallon of rum, and then like a half a gallon of peach schnapps.
It just sounds like pure evil to me, man.
and then like a pound of sugar.
Oh,
and then
my
you put the lemon. You got to stir the sugar in with the ice. It's like a big punch, Sugar and there's some water in it, and with lemons and lemon juice, and it's just like I said. You can't taste anything but like peach lemon booze.
Brutal.
In 1 cup, you're just shit faced.
Well, you were talking about how like that band, you guys were kind of playing a lot of like, you know, just dive bar kind of shows and going and playing your own kind of like backwoodsy type things and just having a good time as a band, not necessarily quote unquote taking it seriously, but when you started with Over the River, you were like, quote unquote again, let's take it seriously this time. But like in all honesty, I've discussed that one with a lot of bands, and Mike Schulte from the Pork Tornadoes, you know, said it, you know, like whatever you're trying to get out of the band is totally cool. Like, I mean, So like,
no, I agree with that.
Yeah, and it's I knew you weren't trying to make a crack at your previous band at all.
I do appreciate you. That's a good point. Good clarification.
But,
anybody that's creating should just create. Doesn't matter. Whatever you're trying to get out of the band is exactly what you should get out of it. Like, there was nothing. That was a completely different time in all of our lives and stuff. I just, like I said, just to clarify.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to just have like a house party band and just play house parties and just get paid a couple $100 and party a bunch, like, and that's all you want to do, and you're doing it, you're doing what you want to do.
I've done it, and it's great, man. Do it if you can. If you don't have kids, do that.
Yeah, and it's not like that you're not doing it right or whatever, or it's not like someone's going to be like, you should put out an actual album and do it this way or whatever, you know. And
you do what? No, man. If you're playing music and having fun, then you should keep doing that.
Yeah,
that's exactly it.
I bet it's like also really tough. You know, I'm sure you ran into it a little bit, but is it like ever tough to like try and find people that are on the same wavelength? Have you ever like wanted to be like, well, let's batten down the hatches here and really kind of push this thing in one direction, and everyone else is still just kind of like, meh, you know, like I'm cool with whatever, you know? And I mean, I have. No, 100%. I'm sure every band has a little bit of that, but
exactly. No, exactly. One thing that I think that was a big thing with the old band is that, you know, everybody was kind of on different wavelengths on that exact page, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like that was the difference is when I got this started, I was like, all right, here's our goals. Here's what we should do. If you don't want to do this, that's cool, but this is what I want out of this. Like, let's do it. You know, I'm 30 and I got 2 kids, man. I only got a couple more shots to just really do this. And if we can make it into a solid business, it's self-sufficient and we can keep it going, you know?
Yeah.
And luckily we've been able to do that. We haven't really pulled any money out of it whatsoever, but it's all just self-fund, you know, it all just, you take the money from a show or from merch and it goes to record or to, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's like one thing when I joined Three Finger Betty, I was like, let's try to like our best. Like you can dump some money into it here or there or whatever if you want to, but like, let's try our best to like make all this self-sufficient. And, you know, so we did that for an album, you know, and it took us a couple of years of playing gigs to actually sit down and like get a good recording and get a good mix and then get a good mastering. And I mean, it was tough, but like, you know, throughout that time, we actually were able to like travel to different places too. And actually, you know, it's like, well, it's going to cost us money. So take $20 and everybody here's some gas money. And, you know, so everything was like, for the most part, pretty well funded for a lot of us. And it's tough to do that. But, you know, I think that's also one of those pages that if everyone in the band can kind of get on that page, you know, bands are sort of, you know, unstoppable at that point, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Well, because you can just have that constant funding. As long as you can get a gig, you've got money to do more, you know, because everything costs money in a band.
Yeah. I mean, like, we never got to the point where it's like, oh, well, we'll buy you an amp or anything. We never got to that point.
Everybody's got to own their own instruments. Yeah. Right.
So there still is your own investing. And then you have to, of course, invest your own time into it, too. So I guess, like, all you're investing is a little bit of time every show. And then at the end of it, you pretty much get to record for free, quote unquote. Right. You know?
Exactly. Which is an experience in itself, man. Having that recorded music out there in the world, too, is a real proud thing, you know?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I've seen that on your guys' website, which we haven't even like talk too much about. Yeah, by the way, like I'll just say it here, it's overtherivermusic.com. Check it out, it's a cool website. But yeah, on your website I did see you guys had the ability to like even listen to your music straight from your guys' website. So if you guys don't have streaming services or anything, you can go there and listen.
On there.
Yeah, you can go right there.
There's like 5 different options. So yeah, on the website there, I'm real proud of that website, actually. That's kind of been my home base that I've just tried to do everything off of, you know, and it just tried to make it as interactive and as informational as possible without being too much, because sometimes a website, you know, drowned out the important bits and all the things that you want to say.
Yep.
Yeah, I've worked real hard on that website over the last couple of years, just constantly. My first draft wasn't my best draft, that's for sure. It's been a couple of years building and coming, figuring out as I go along. But yeah, I appreciate that. Overtherivermusic.com, we've got you can download all of our music there. You can play it straight from the website, and then we've got all of our links are there. Anything that you might listen to music on, you can find us on that at the bottom of the website too. So
yep, that's all down there at the bottom. You've also got Twitter feeds on there and releases. You can join the email list and all that other stuff. Great. And that's something.
On that note,
yeah, go for it.
The email club. Let me plug this real quick. The email club. Everybody who joins the email club, we're gonna do. I haven't even gotten to this yet. We're releasing a song every 45 days in 2021.
Oh, cool.
Every 45 days, we're going to release 1 to 2 songs. It's just a 1 LP that we're just slowly releasing called Just Trickling. And so 1 song at a time. The next one drops on Valentine's Day, actually, February 14th. And everybody who's a member of the email club gets a download link 5 days early.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm just like, you're our email club. Boom, new free song. Yep. Check it out on Spotify when it drops in 5 days.
That's awesome. And that made me think. We're going to come back to the website, but that makes me think about something while I'm thinking about it. As far as releasing music, nowadays, I'm in a band. We just released an EP, 6 songs. Felt like plenty. We can release another one in a year, whatever. Or maybe you can do, if you want to, you can do 2 a year, or so then you have a full album coming out every year, the equivalent of. Or I've seen bands doing 2 or 3 song EPs 3 or 4 times a year, and then you pull up and it's we're doing about an album a year. But is the album gone? Is waiting a whole year to release 12 songs, is it worth it anymore? Or are you doing the right way here? Because there's no rules anymore, I don't think.
I don't know. That's the point, is there are no rules, right? In fact, it wasn't even our original idea to do this long release, 1 song at a time, 1 album, right? That wasn't our original plan. We released a 6-track EP. We released 1 single, and then we were just going to hold off and wait and ride these. And then due to the pandemic, I'm watching a lot of the bands out of the Northeast that I've followed for a long time, kind of been watching what they're doing and how they're doing it. And one band in particular, the Bumpin' Uglies, which is a white boy reggae band that we used to open with the Fish House Punch 20 years ago, it seems like. But they've got a huge following of hundreds of thousands of people, and that's exactly what they're doing. He was like, man, I've got these 36 songs recorded. I'm just going to give you guys one a month.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, nice. That's a great idea. We don't have anywhere near that amount of songs recorded. Yeah. So let's do it every 45 days, and let's get to recording some more songs.
Yeah.
But that's that's exactly how we're doing it this time.
Yeah. I mean, I even saw somebody recently, because I'm kind of into those weirdo internet guitarist people who don't actually really have bands or play much live, but all they do is just play crazy guitar in their bedrooms or whatever and come up with insano albums. But I looked up one of those guys. He had an album coming out this year, and he put out a single on every different platform. So every 2 weeks it was just here's a single from it, but it's only on Spotify. And then
what?
And then 2 or 3 weeks, and 2 or 3 weeks later a new single came out, but it was only on YouTube. So if you were only ever on one platform, you would eventually see one of his singles. But if you wanted to go to every platform, you could eventually pull in all of the singles to see what his whole album was, or you could just wait, and he ended, it was kind of a cool concept to do that, because it's but it's also kind of did it work? Is it weird? What was the point to it? I'm not sure, but somebody thought of it.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's interesting, man. If it keeps people engaged, I guess maybe that's the point of it. Keep people engaged. But yeah, you're right. There are no rules anymore. And yeah, we're kind of just flying by the seat of our pants, to be honest with you. We've got some songs in the shoot that we've got dates all set for, and we're working on a music video for one of them that we're going to release along with it, and we're filming that right now, actually. Like, not right now, but
this is we're in it right now.
right now, you and me, you're going to be in it. So, and we're just going to be trickling it out, which is, and then I said, let's just use the same. I was like, let's just use the same album art and just make it the same album.
Yeah.
I was like, we don't have to, like, if we want to and release a fun bonus thing, that's cool. But otherwise, there's no rules. Why don't we just do it however we want to?
Yeah. I mean, if you have a 10-song or an 8-song album and you just want to release 8 singles, go for it, same album cover. Yeah. And then eventually, you make
PR isn't the same anymore. The radios don't operate the same anymore.
Yeah.
None of it is the same. We're all just making it up as we go along. It's the age of the internet, man. That's all anybody's doing in anything.
That's another crazy thing I found with the radio people is, like, it used to be somewhat hard to get your stuff on the radio. You kind of had to know people or only be in a certain region. And now they're like scrounging for stuff because every radio station's like, we need shows. And it's like, local show? Yeah, sure. Local music show, whatever. Yeah. And every station in every town has one.
It's a lot easier to get it. Not to mention, man, there are hundreds of internet radio stations that I just really just hit the hell out of, like on Twitter and stuff. I've submitted to all those guys, and not all of them, because again, I'm sure I'll find another one next week and submit it to them. But and so many of them have shown us love, and so we try to do the same to them and retweet all their stuff, and then occasionally do a thing on Facebook and highlight one of them and just say, hey, go check out their site, because we all have to. Anybody who's supporting independent artists needs support as well, because if nobody's out there listening to their stations, then what's the point? If it's all just us artists retweeting their stuff, then what's the point in them playing it? But
you can check your stats on that and see how much stuff's getting played, though, too. So
exactly.
And I mean, just to like come back to that, like on Twitter, it's been a hot button topic. Is Twitter dead for bands? Is it even worthwhile to have a Twitter? Well, we have more followers on Twitter than we do on Instagram, so it's weird. I don't know what's going on there, but also, like, we've got a weirdly huge British contingent on our Twitter for some reason. I don't know why, but like they like our music, so we get plays over in Britain now, and it's like, that's neat, And then you also said those internet radio stations are all on Twitter, and that's where they do most of their work. So like, actually hit them up, because they'll respond, because bands aren't on Twitter anymore and they want your music.
Right. Well, and I'd say most of what I do on Twitter is connecting with those internet radio stations and other bands. I do a lot of connecting with bands all over the world, all over the US, and that's awesome. Sharing our music with one another, saying, hey, if you're ever in the area, let us know. We'd be happy to support you, open a gig, help promote and stuff. That's been a huge tool in that. So Twitter, I'd say, if you're in the business of having a band and you just want to get out to the world, I use all social medias. I'm like, not all, but I mean, like, the ones I know how to use. We're on Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook and
TikTok.
We are on TikTok.
Yep. Yeah, that was something else. Mike Schulte was talking about that. TikTok's getting big, apparently, like, even for bands.
Oh yeah, man. I've been pushing, like, I was doing some campaigns and stuff, trying to get any of our fans. I was like, I was telling our fans, I gave away a few pieces of merch, because I was like, if you are making TikToks and you use one of our songs in your TikTok, I'll give you free merch. Let's get it out there, because it's, man, millions and millions of users.
Yeah, it's hard to say no to it. It's hard to say no.
Right, exactly. And don't get me wrong, social media for musicians as a whole is not free. Like, if you're doing any kind of advertising, if you're trying to get people to your gigs or you really want people to hear your music, it helps if you've got $20 to $30 occasionally to throw into the machine. Yep. I'll be 100% honest. Like, I get a lot, like Facebook, I've given them a few $100s of our money. But it really helps get the word out there. It helps us be heard where we wouldn't have, because if you don't put the money into the machine, it doesn't put you as far out.
Yeah. I mean, there's also people making arguments whether or not those advertisements are really worth it. Technically, I think they are. I looked at and
it's in context.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'd say between the two, I'd say every time I've run a Facebook ad, not every time, but for most things I run a Facebook ad, I get a lot more likes and views, and then I'm able to turn those into likes from my page or invites to my events, which is worth it to me. Whereas Twitter, I tried running an ad on there and my $50 was gone in like 20 minutes. I didn't get nothing out of it.
Yeah, Twitter, I could see it getting lost in a hurry on Twitter.
So, I think it's in context. I think it depends on how much money you have to spend. If $20 out of your band fund is a major weight on it, then don't do it. Keep doing what you're doing and playing the band shows, doing the bar shows to make more money. But if you got a few extra bucks to throw into it, it definitely helps get more attention to it.
Yeah. And it comes back down to there's no rules. You don't have to do the Facebook ads and think it's going to work and then rely only on that. I mean, you could come back to doing what you're doing, and that came up in another podcast I recently did, but you've got a mailing list, and I'm assuming that the mailing list actually works better than you think it would.
It really does, man. And it shows. So it shows we do I have a mailing list, like sign up sheet at our merch table, and I'll give people free stickers for signing up and stuff. Yeah, it really does. The mailing list, we get a lot of word out that way. And you check out the reports, and something like 85% of the people are opening the emails and reading it or clicking the links. And no, it really does work better than you think it does. It gets the word out there, and for some reason, people love free stuff too, so they'll sign up for free stuff.
Oh yeah, that's another one for sure. Is like the free stuff as the bribe for people to either like go to a show or do a thing or whatever, right. And I mean, that was something I did for the podcast. I went to a show once and I was like, if anybody wears an Audible Farm shirt to the show, just wear one and come up to me and say hi, and I'll just hand you some stickers. And there was like 18 people wearing Audible Farm shirts. It's like this is wild. Like I did bring this many stickers, but this is wild, But
that's awesome.
But yeah, it totally does work, I think you've got the right idea as far as like, there's no rules to this, so why not put an album out, every it comes out to like every month this year almost, you're going to drop something in almost every month. So
right. I think the only one we skip is March. No, we get March, yeah, because it'd be the end of March.
Yeah, you might skip April.
We'll skip April. Yeah, I think April gets skipped, but yeah, for the most part, we'll be releasing, content. It's all about content this year for me, to be honest with you. I'm like, let's just create and throw it out to the world and try not to get our hearts broke.
Yeah, I don't really think there's like a wrong thing you can do as far as like making content, because I don't know. I've found that like some of the goofier content that we've made as far as like the band has actually been some of the highest trafficked content.
No. Oh yeah. No, I exactly. The more you're willing, or like the more or the less dignity you're willing to have, the further it could go, but that's the scary thing, because if it goes far because you have less, it's a vicious circle.
Yeah. I mean, like one of the dumbest things I've found is making like a joke post, because one time we shared a meme and it was like our most popular post of like 2019 or something. It's like it was a meme about Justin Bieber. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So
right.
So it's like, well, let's make a meme, but like somehow try and tie it into our stuff. And then we'll post that and see what happens. And it's actually been working pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and it's like, there's no rules. I'm literally like making a joke about something, you know, like this week.
Right.
This week it was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Instead of chugging beers, he was chugging the Three Finger Betty album. Like, it's the dumbest thing ever, but it's funny. And
People love it, man. No, I did a video with the new single "Bad Daughter," with like a Baby Yoda Mandalorian thing it's on our Facebook page where he keeps turning on the song and Mandalorian stopping him. But yeah, no, I got a bunch of everybody loves that stuff, man.
yeah, and I love that stuff because it's like, to people like maybe you or me, it's like, wow, it seems like such an easy thing to do, but then you look around and like, well, nobody else is doing it, so I might as well just do it, because why not, you know? Like,
well, and it makes people smile, man. It's just back to we're just making people smile, you know. That's what we're going after.
It's true, man. And I mean, like, that's just another thing. If you think you got an idea for your band, you know, throw it at the wall. You never know what might stick, you know. I've seen bands that every time they played a show, they made like a crazy dumb video about it, you know, and like one of them was the guy was eating like a 5-gallon bucket full of cereal or something, and he's just like, it just like pans in on him. He's like, we got a show this weekend, and that was the promotion. But it's like, that's hilarious. I remember it, you know.
People, right? You remember it, and people share it, right? No,
Yeah,
I get it.
yeah.
That's exactly it, man. There's no rules to promotion anymore. With the internet, you're just like, anything I can do to get myself out there.
Yeah, totally. We're kind of getting that last sentence he had was a little scratchy audio. I don't know what the.
Oh yeah, sorry.
But yeah, we're back. We had a little audio issues, but we're back. But
There we go.
Ty, we're getting close-ish to the end, but I do have to say, when I first listened to your band, I listened to most bands with like a very open mind to like what's going on, and your band seemed to be one of those bands that like returned the favor to me, because like we were talking earlier, your band is, I couldn't categorize it in one thing. When I picked 4 categories, it was groove, country, rock, and indie, and it's like those 4 almost don't match together, you know. But you guys, the open-mindedness from your guys' band, and like the direction you're going as far as like, well, let's do an online thing and let's give some stuff away and let's just release a single almost every month this year, and then we'll go with that, and that'll just be the album, instead of, you know, let's just create more content in any fashion we can, you know. And you're
Right.
I appreciate that approach so much, because I feel like some bands during COVID or during 2020 just kind of keeled over, and I don't want to say keeled over and died, but just kind of
sat down.
And just kind of took it. And
well, I appreciate you saying something, because it's definitely nice to be noticed. It's definitely nice to have your hard work noticed. But as I said before, no, seriously, you know, we literally, well, 2 things. I do it to make life better for everybody and to just help fill the world with music. That's why everybody at Over the River does it. But 2, also, maybe a little bit, I was kind of counting on that, on people sitting down and being like, let's just take a break. And because I was like, people are going to be sitting down taking a break, let's sprint, man.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, we had plenty of hurdles in our sprint, and we weren't able to sprint too fast, but we just stayed as active as we could, just keep paddling ahead to maybe get an inch in on people that were already miles ahead of us, you know.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's like one of my favorite quotes when I was like, I used to be like really into fitness and stuff. One of my favorite quotes was, "You're gonna lap everybody that's sitting on the couch." That's kind of this situation, you know. Like even if you did something, a little bit of something, you still are so much farther ahead than people that sat down and did nothing.
Exactly. Well, here's what it comes down to, man. My middle school band teacher, right, back when I was just playing the snare drum, and my middle school band teacher, he told me, and it stuck with me. It's really good. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. Okay. And let me explain it to you, right? Because anything worth doing, it's better for you to do it poorly than not at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when it comes to practicing your instrument or brushing your teeth or cleaning your house or just anything in life that's worth doing, it's better to do it a little bit than to just skip it altogether, right?
That's true. That's so true.
So therefore, anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. So to hold yourself to a standard that if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well, that's crazy. No, if it's worth doing poorly over not doing it at all.
Yep. Yeah, man. Yeah, because I mean, eventually you'll get good at it.
I'm not going to do it if I can't do it well. Well, then sit down and don't do it, because you're not going to do it well your first time anyways.
Yeah, 100%. That's, it's so weird because I've like so many of these podcasts that you're going to be episode like 123 or something. And I feel like about half of them somewhere somebody has given like a lesson that applies somehow to music, but it's also a great lesson for life in general. They just like fall out like somewhere in the last 10-15 minutes of the podcast like magic. And I'm going to go back through and listen to all of them and write them all down and make a book out of quotes I heard on a podcast. And
things I heard on a podcast. But no, it's true. That's exactly it. He also told me to buy the expensive trash bags.
That's true, though, too.
It is true, right? I'm telling you, 2 pieces of advice that he was like, that man, Mr. Meyer, he gave me some real life advice, that man right there. If it's worth doing poorly, buy the expensive trash bags.
And look at you today. You still have music in your life.
Look at me.
Oh, my gosh. Dude, that's some funny stuff too. I mean, I don't know. I do feel like everybody has that musical inspiration from their past that kind of just influenced them more than they ever thought they ever would have, and yeah. I mean, some of them are people that you may or may not still keep in contact with. It might not have to be like a teacher like you had in your situation like that, but I'm sure, that was...
and don't get me wrong. I got plenty of those people too in and out of my musical life that some I do still talk to, Sven, for instance, and who's in my band, and then some I haven't talked to in 20 years. But, all of those people collectively, they make you who you are, and all we are is like a culmination of interactions with other people and the choices that we make. So, especially when it comes to music. But yeah, some of those, it's crazy when you get to be older. I just turned 30 this year, and you get to looking back, and people that you never thought would be consequential in your life, or little bits of advice like those 2 that you thought were like, that you rolled your eyes at or laughed at in class and never thought you'd think about again. At 30, you're like, Mr. Meyer, that motherfucker, he knew some shit, when he was laying it on us middle schoolers. Yeah. He knew we couldn't handle the big stuff, but he gave us some good life advice.
That's so true, though. It's so true. Oh, man. Yeah,
you learn to appreciate those people that you didn't know would carry you that far,
Yeah, and I also feel like being about 30, you're in that prime like reflection area of your life where you're just kind of like holy cow, like the 20s are gone, like I'm technically like should be like super adult like now, but everybody, right. But there's like, I don't know very many 30-year-olds who are actually very adult like, and the ones that, the ones that aren't very fun to be around. No, I'm just kidding, people. Just kidding.
No, right. I get it.
No, but
I get it.
But it's I totally get it. You're that prime reflection time, too. So like having some of these kind of thoughts like that, that's probably also driving some of your thought processes as far as like, like you said, we're going to have a band, we're going to do it this way, and this is the thought that I want to see through to the end at least, or at least try, and I feel like you guys are doing
it. Luckily, like I said, it isn't all me, luckily I got 2 Clayton left, we were just moving in different directions. When Clayton, our 4th, he left in the middle of COVID, COVID, he was real precautious, and that was okay. He didn't want to leave his house. He's high risk and stuff, which we were totally cool with. And then in the meantime, in the like 4 months we were apart, we just really grew different directions musically, and he just decided he was going to go his own way on a solo thing, and that's cool. But yeah, luckily I got the other 2 guys who are just 100% in it to win it. I bring them an idea, and if it's far-fetched, they tell me, and they keep me on earth a little bit. But when I have good ideas, they're in it, and they don't sway. They always got my back, which is a big thing. You can't teamwork makes the dream work, you know.
Yeah, 100% teamwork with a band. Like it's been a hot button issue as well. Like that has been kind of going through lately because like we're switching bassists in our band. We just switched the bassist, so it's like, you know, you gotta like everybody's got to get back on the same page, and it took you 3 or 4 years to get everyone on the same page and be comfortable with each other. Now you got a new person, and I mean, at one point in time, I was the new person, so I gotta just go with it and roll with the punches. And I still feel like the new guy though.
No, I get it. No, I get it.
Oh man. Over the River Music, you guys got stuff available not just on your website, but as well as streaming services. You can buy it from Amazon and pretty much anywhere you buy or listen to music. It's available everywhere. That is, if you guys are looking for the links, just go to overtherivermusic.com. That's where all the stuff is at right at the bottom, right? Like just like you said earlier.
Everywhere. Go to overtherivermusic.com and you can find it all.
Yep.
Just the key to all of life's treasures will be unlocked to you.
Yeah. I will put that link in the description. I'll put that link in the description, and I will also put some extra links down there as far as like just some of the major social medias for everyone to click on. Otherwise, like we said, Over the River Music, that's where the stuff is at. You know, it happened with Josh, and I think it's going to happen again with you, Ty. I think you're going to be one of my weirdly like favorite buddy people that I have never met. You're just one of those new internet buddies I've got.
That's awesome, man.
You seem like a really great guy. I dig your music. You've got a good disposition on life. You know, you just seem like got your head on straight. So you know, it's really cool. I dig your music. I hope to sometime catch you guys live.
Where are you? What area are you in Iowa?
I'm in North Central. The band I play in is in Des Moines for the most part. If anybody's looking, they're like, where are you guys going to be playing at? Well, you can go to overtherivermusic.com and it's all right there. So
yeah, we're trying to make our way way more into Iowa this year. We're way over here on the west side here, so we're trying to mosey that way and up and kind of all over and just get our name out there as much as we can in 2021 now that live music's hopefully getting back going this summer. So
yeah, that's something we've been talking with other people about, is trying to get a little bit outside of our normal area, but you also gotta, like we said, you gotta tiptoe through the little forest there to kind of
and every area is different, and it's a thing, man. But hopefully, I keep telling myself too, you know, as humans, we've beaten the Black Plague and the Spanish flu and polio and this isn't forever. It won't be forever. In a couple of years, we'll remember how fucking crazy this all was. Mm-hmm. But we won't still be the way we are now. And so I just keep reminding myself, if we can just push through this, keep doing what we're doing, keep grinding, all of us as human beings in society, and keep just being as kind to one another as we possibly can be in times like this, we can make it through this. You know, we just got to work together.
Dude, another beautiful life lesson. Perfect way to end the podcast, man.
Man, thank you so much for having me today. Dude, I've really had a great time.
Dude, it's been really fun. It's been really fun to chat. And, don't go away, because I am going to end the recording. But, Ty, great chatting with you, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, baby. That was another good one. You know, it's fun to be able to sit down with people and just kind of click with them a little bit, you know. So hats off, Ty. You know, you're one of the good guys out there as well, and you're making great music, and just I agreed with a lot of what you said, and it just seemed like a really good conversation overall. So I hope you guys all really enjoyed it, you know, just as much as I did. Like I said in the intro, I didn't know Ty very well at all. We messaged a few times here and there, and I'd listened to his music before, and then we had a short conversation before we jumped into the podcast. But it's fun meeting people on the podcast and just reaffirming that, you know, not all the madness that we constantly see on social media, the news, and everywhere else is something that should define all of us as human beings. You know, we're deeper human beings than that, and you got to be understanding and, you know, just be open-minded. And a lot of those weird, great life lessons came out of this one. You know, like I said, it's goofy. If you listen to these podcasts, you can find people that'll give recommendations or like little lessons they learned while playing music, whether it be publicly or by themselves, etc. And they're just like, I learned this thing, and it's like that actually applies to life, not just music, but life as well. So it's fun to hear those little tidbits come out of podcasts as well. So hats off, Ty, for doing that. Check out Over the River Band. They got the website www.overtherivermusic.com. That has links to everything you need to find there. Otherwise, their handle online for almost everywhere is at Over the River Music. If it's not, there's a link to it down below. So check that out. Otherwise, I'll just put the social media down below as usual, and I'll put the website down below as usual too. And you guys can check it all out there. Like we discussed in this episode, you can find their music online on streaming services, but it's also directly on their website. And if you guys want to find all their social medias, that's all at their website too. It's all right at the bottom. An easy, nice spot to find it. So go check it out, guys. Ty, I got to say thanks if you're listening. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to sit down and talk with me about music, man. I really appreciate it. Just like every guest, I get that I take time out of my week every week, but I also have to drag someone into this madness and say, hey, take some time out of your week as well and talk to me about some stuff. So hats off, Ty. I really appreciate you taking the time out. And once again, hats off to Josh Wigg for making the recommendation for me to listen to Over the River. So, I got to say thanks to everybody that's listening to this episode. If this is the first episode you listen to, cruise through, see if you know some other people, or maybe find somebody else that you want to listen to and check it out. There's a lot of episodes out there of this podcast now, so if you guys have any recommendations, hit me up. I'm always game to hear recommendations. I'm slowly peeling through some people I've contacted earlier, maybe in 2020, or I've even contacted a couple of people that I'd never met up with that we kind of had talks in 2019 about meeting up. So I'm meeting up with a lot of people that it's taken me a while to get in touch with them. So thank you everybody for being patient with me on that, as it's kind of fun to actually check these people off the list and to know they're still making music as well. So it's really cool to have people that have been making music in the same capacity for well over a year and aren't just I guess I would say a fly-by-night kind of musician, which there's nothing wrong with that either, but it's just really cool to know that people have that drive to just keep going, and Ty's one of those guys. So hats off, Ty. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody enjoyed this. Check out his music. There's links down below. At the very bottom, there's also links to the Audible Farm stuff, such as the Audible Farm shop. There you can find merch, Audible Farm merch, stickers, shirts, hoodies. There's also the Audible Farm Patreon page. You can watch video versions of the podcast if that interests you. So check that out. Otherwise, you can always listen for free. And then at the bottom, there's also a link to the website. So one more time, hats off to Ty. Check out his music, Over the River. That's a band. They're from the Council Bluffs area over near Omaha. So check them out if you're over in that area, or if you want to book them, hit them up. I'm always a big proponent of that. I know there are some venue owners that listen to this podcast. So hats off, Ty. We'll check you guys all out next week. And I will have another episode with another really cool guest, and that's how it's going to go down. So thanks, everybody. Peace.